Okay, guys. Hey, as we start to kind of wrap things up here on our immune discussion, there's one topic um, that we really probably need to, and we probably should probably spend multiple webinars on, but we're going to try to cover it all in one webinar, and that is the role of nutrition. And specifically, what I'm going to talk about is undernutrition and overnutrition. You know, in parts of the world, the biggest problem a lot of people have is undernutrition. They just can't get enough food. And we know that undernutrition certainly plays a big role in our immune system because we need to be able to, when the immune system revs up and it's trying to tackle things, it needs to build a lot of new cells, right? It needs to do a lot of repair. And if we simply don't have the energy requirements in order to do that because we're underfed or undernourished, um, the body's going to have trouble, right? And also, when we're undernourished, we tend to run a lot of deficiencies in a lot of key nutrients. Vitamin A, for instance. Is one of the key nutrients around the world that people are deficient in, and oftentimes, unfortunately, why people in third world countries often um, uh, don't survive small illnesses or minor illnesses in the United States that most kids would have no trouble with. It's simply because they're just simply undernourished and their bodies can't respond to that. And so undernourishment does occur in the United States. However, at a much lower percentage. Our big problem in the United States is really being overnourished and being overweight or obese. And the trouble with obesity, there's so many different factors that are associated with it, or being overweight. But what we do know is that when we're carrying excessive fat in our body, our adipose tissue, it actually releases a lot of pro-inflammatory cytokines and really starts to mess up our delicate balance of that immune system and those messenger aspects. And like I said, with inflammation, it just kind of puts us into this pro-inflammatory state simply because we are overweight, right? So being overweight also puts a lot more stress on the body. It causes a lot more effect that way as well. But just simply carrying the fat in and of itself is very pro-inflammatory. Um, and so it tends to start to lower our immune response. We talked about inflammation at the beginning of this talk as kind of an overriding theme that we needed to keep in mind as we navigated our way through. Um, and so, you know, obesity and overweight is it's a systemic problem, and there's not a simple single answer for everybody. There's certainly a lot of factors that go into it and a lot of issues that need to be addressed along the way with that. And I'm certainly not going to address all of those in this class. I would invite you to rewatch maybe the class that we did last year on 15 pounds healthier in 15 weeks, right? And we kind of dove in a little bit deeper into kind of the steps that are required there. But I in good faith, I could not do a full immune talk without at least addressing this aspect of it. We also know that patients that are overweight tend to have a harder time with the COVID. And again, it's mostly because they're already in that pro-inflammatory state. They're in that weakened immune state, and they can't get balance within the immune system. And so that certainly plays a role. Another factor that you really probably wouldn't necessarily think about is that a lot of times when we're overnourished, we're not absorbing as many of the micronutrients. So we're eating these calorie dense foods, but they're not nutrient dense, right? And so we actually oftentimes people will end up with deficiencies even though they may be overweight. You would think, get enough calories, we're eating enough that we should be able to meet our nutrient requirements. But in a number of studies, they've actually found that the more overweight we are, the more likely we are to have key deficiencies, just like as if we're undernourished. Which is, kind of a double whammy. So then you're undernourished and overinflamed, and you have this much lower immune response. And again, there's a lot of factors that go into this, and it's not just simply saying that if you're overweight, your immune system is weak. That's not necessarily the case, but it is a risk factor. And so, just like everything we've talked about in these classes and these lectures, it's kind of that Goldilocks principle. We don't want too little, we don't want too much, we want just the right amount. And so, you know, as we head into summer, summer's here now, um, and maybe we won't be hanging out at the pool quite as much, and maybe there won't be that drive for that, perfect bikini body this year quite as strongly as in other years. I'm still going to encourage, if you need to lose some weight, focus on that. If you need help, talk to me. Um, we have lots of options, and I can kind of guide you through and give you some recommendations and lead you along that pathway on kind of what a healthy diet may look like for you, because we're all different, we're all unique. Some of us need to eat more frequently. Some of us need to maybe consider some ketogenic type diets where we have some intermittent fasting. Some of us need to be more paleo. But at the end of the day, the thing is, we all probably need to really kind of focus in on that, especially as we come out of the lockdown. A lot of us have been overeating, oversitting, not exercising, and I think probably about 95% of the patients that we've been seeing over the last couple of months have said, I've gained a little weight over this pandemic. And so, we're stress eating. There's just lots of things that go into that, right? And so I'm just encouraging patients to, take control, get back in front of things, um, focus on what needs to be focused on. Again, if you need some help, let me know. But again, I couldn't do a full immune talk without at least addressing the overnutrition aspect, which is mostly what we see, but also some undernutrition aspects that exist, especially in our older patients. It's hard for them to absorb enough of the energy from their foods. Their digestive system, as we get older, starts to slow. It doesn't get the calories out of our food, and it doesn't get the micronutrients that we need out of our food. So undernourishment becomes a bigger issue as we get older. Overnourishment is by far the most common issue, though. So anyway, hope you got something from this. Again, if you have questions, reach out to us, like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube. We're really kind of going to wrap things up. This is probably the last specific topic I'm going to cover, and we'll move on to maybe a kind of a wrap up of kind of everything on our next webinar. So I hope you've enjoyed this series. I've gotten some good positive feedback from people that are telling me that they're watching these online. Again, like us, that helps get this information to more people. So anyway, thanks for your time.